Ever since Voruna came out, weirder people have been revealing themselves. Stop it. And new melee mains have been popping up. After using Voruna, people who didn't have Prime Sure-Footed were happy and finally realized how useful that mod is. A wolf Warframe that isn't really a wolf, and her fourth ability just being a meme, but still more useful than a lot of Warframe's fourth abilities. Finally, it has gotten a slight buff, but this also nerfed her.
I could touch the sky. I'll be running up in time, trying to think about you all the time.
What's good, folks? It's NightmareFrame here with a new Warframe video coming at you with the good old furry booba lady. Yes, I know, it didn't feel right saying that out loud. Anyway, with the echoes of the very update, we were graced with Wisp Prime. Released a video about her. Do go check that out. And yes, that is 2 billion damage on the thumbnail. And some new augments for Warframes. Also just released a vid about the new Stynex augment. Go check that out as well. And one of the augments is Ulfrun's Endurance. This augment is for Ulfrun's Descent, her fourth ability, where she goes on all fours like a wolf, to then run like a human. Great design choice, by the way. Absolutely no doubt in my mind, that's what I would expect to see. This augment allows you to refresh the charges of Ulfrun's Descent when you kill enemies affected by the slash status effect, aka bleeds. This means the ability doesn't have to apply the slash procs. Enemies just have to die with the bleed proc on them. It also gets refreshed if enemies are killed by direct slash damage while having the bleed proc applied. This means you can be in Ulfrun's Descent indefinitely. And what do you get from being in this form for a long time? Well, let's first explain the ability a bit more. The hits with her fourth have a 20% crit chance and a 1.5 critical multiplier, and the flat crit damage buff from Shroud of Dinar, her first ability, also applies to her fourth. Every kill increases the crit chance by 5% and the crit damage by 0.5. However, the other cool thing is that when she is cloaked by Shroud of Dinar, Ulfrun's crit is set to 100%. The damage Ulfrun deals is slash damage. Successful kills with her fourth will increase the outgoing damage of the next attack, capping out at 10 times damage multiplier. Kills required to increase the damage have to be direct hits and not kills from damage over time. Your direct hit with her fourth ability will knock down a target and stagger enemies within the area, marking them with a true damage aura. Enemies marked by this aura take increased damage from the fourth. If you leave Ulfrun's Descent, this aura disappears, but thanks to the augment, you'll always have it up. And the other good part is that Ulfrun deals 100% more damage to enemies if they're affected by at least one status effect, and your second ability can easily apply multiple, as you have to depend on your second ability, because if you're in this form, you lose the use of all of your weapons, but still benefit from mods and weapon passives that offer utility benefits. All of this sounds good. Being in Ulfrun longer builds up the damage multiplier, and you're going to shred enemies with ease. So, what's the problem? Well, if you're in Ulfrun's Descent, you cannot cast any Helminth abilities. That's the big oof. So you'd have to leave the form to recast your Helminth to then go back into furry mode to then build up charges, which is not optimal, because the longer you're in her form, the easier it is to get to 10 times damage, because then you're essentially going to do way more damage. With my previous loadout for this, I had Roar in place of the third ability, but since I can't maintain Roar, I just had to remove it. The best part about Roar is that it was a huge DPS increase, as it affected abilities and multiplies the damage over time that my second and fourth ability dealt. Funny enough, a helmet that could work on this build is Aqua Blades. They have a base duration of 45 seconds and they can bleed enemies to maintain charges on your fourth.
But then there's the issue where you don't get to build up the damage multiplier for Ulfrun's Descent, because Aqua Blades will just end up killing enemies if you're priming them with your second ability. As I stated earlier, Ulfrun's Descent will only increase its damage multiplier if it gets direct kills and not from DOTs. And of course, it does scale with modded duration, and this will also mean you would have to go out of your fourth every minute or so. But then this also brings another problem. You would have to run Arcane Energize because of you replacing your third ability. Okay, so how did I go about this build? My main focus here is strength and range. Range for the status effect spread with her 2 and the reach of her fourth, while strength is just there for the damage and damage buildup. This build is going to be energy hungry, but thanks to the third ability, which will have an incredible uptime thanks to the synergy with her 2. And yes, this build heavily relies on equilibrium. This
mod helps convert health pickups to energy and vice versa. Basically whatever takes priority. Alright, for the Archon Shards, I went with 2 Amber Shards for the casting speed, as it affects all of her abilities, and the rest are Blue Shards for energy max, as she has a horrible energy pool. For the active passive ability, I of course will be using her second ability passive for the status immunity. Focus schools are either Madurai or Zenrik, both give you bonus strength, and you can snapshot the strength buff onto her fourth, but Zenrik also increases energy pickup, so if you're having issues, this focus school will help you out a bit more. For the Arcanes in this build, I will be using Molt Augmented for the 60% strength at max stacks, and the last arcane is a flex slot. I suggest either Arcane Steadfast for the 20% chance to not consume energy when you cast an ability, or for the 35% duration when you have shields. Alright, now with all of that out of the way, let's take a look at the build. Brief Respite in the aura for the energy to shield conversion. This is used to replenish my shields, so I get another instance of a max shield gate. Nira is just there for the parkour, and because not having enough mod capacity, as it'll mess up the other 5 builds.
But you can run Enemy Sense or Cunning Drift in the Exilus.
For more consistency, or Power Drift, it's up to you, and whatever you have format onto there. Range at 220% with Stretch and a rank 4 overextended. This gives my second ability a spread of 15 meters, and my fourth ability aura spread to 22 meters. Strength at 149%, but I also have an additional 60% coming from Molt Augmented. Duration at 128% thanks to primed continuity to counteract the negative effects of transient fortitude, but still giving me enough to maintain my buffs. Our only survivability mod here is Rolling Guard, used for the iframes when taking AoE damage and useful when we're recloaking with her first ability. And finally, for energy maintenance, I have Equilibrium. This mod pairs really well with the synth set mods on my Panzer Volpaphyla, and of course it aids us by spreading viral procs everywhere. For some additional movement-based utility, you can have a primary weapon modded with Amalgam Serration, and the melee is Praetus for that Evolution 2 to give me sprint speed and parkour velocity on Evo 4, and the secondary modded with the 2 Augur mods, just for that additional energy to shield conversion. Because let's be honest, the weapons are not being used at all when you're in Ulfrun's form, but provide you with movement utility that synergizes with her first ability when cloaked. And that, folks, is the new Voruna's Ulfrun's Descent build using the augment Ulfrun's Endurance. Anyway, that has been it from me. I do hope you've enjoyed and learned something from this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. Bye-bye now.